Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. We are live here tonight and we are building a castle. This is where we're at. So far we have a tower, sort of. We have a half tower. We have a little bit of a tower over here. We have a little bit of a tower over on the other side. We have dug out a huge amount of land. This all used to be hillside. Now it is not. Unfortunately, one thing I discovered is that I can't dig any more in this direction because the stone doesn't dig. It doesn't dig anymore. So I'm gonna have to figure out. I had a whole just simple square design in mind, but now I'm gonna have to get a little bit more creative with the design, I suppose, and think of something. Well, it's nighttime. I'm going to go and jump back to my other house, my main house, my current main house, soon to become my summer home. I don't know, my secondary house, I suppose, once this castle is finished. But it's well configured for resting, and recharging the batteries. Since we're going to be doing a lot of digging here, one needs good stamina recovery. So anybody who's watching, this is going to be a relaxing stream. There's going to be digging, there's going to be building, there's going to be digging, some building. There's going to be a lot of digging and building, mostly digging. Oop, I guess whilst I'm here, I should probably go right ahead and prepare my gear. So this is my house, by the way. This is my current house. Took me quite a long time to build it, but yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It works pretty well. There's a nice trench and spiky walls and stuff like that so that skeletons can't get in, and yet somehow things seem to get in. I don't know why. I think because they spawn within the walls. I actually did read a thing about setting up, building, was it just workbenches, and monsters can't spawn where there are workbenches within the radiuses of workbenches. Actually, that's a great tip. Whilst we're at it here, I'm putting together a bit of a Valheim tips video as well, and that's actually a good little tip. So don't mind me while I do a quick little recording of that tip. Alright, here we go. I'm just going to fire up my my shadow play. Here's a little trick if you're trying to keep monsters from spawning inside your walls. Set up workbenches, because the perimeter of a workbench will prevent a monster from spawning within that perimeter. Alright, so that was that little tip video. Super easy. Alright, the digging. Oh, the digging. We have a lot of digging to do. This is a cool spot though. And the nice thing about having to dig up your whole hillside is you get tons and tons of stone, which is going to be pretty important for building more of this castle up. So we are building, and what I was going to say is that one of the neat things about this location is actually its location. I guess that makes sense. Ouch. Half of this castle is in the meadows. Half of this castle is in the plains. Right behind us are the mountains, and right in front of us, just a few steps front, you can basically throw a stone to it. It's so close. Is the Black Forest. So this castle basically sits in the epicenter of the 4 major biomes in Valheim. I know there are some additional biomes like the Arctic, the cold, the frozen north, and Shadowlands, but they're not really, there's nothing there. So I'm counting these as the actual only biomes, basically. So yeah, I think that's it. That's the 4 biomes that there are. Oops. We do have the occasional guest. Ooh, those ones are dangerous. Yeah, those ones with spears. Man, those ones are the worst. Oh, no, I take it back. So the, yeah. Oh, this is a tiny bit dangerous. These 2 stars are just mean. Luckily, I have a castle with castle walls, which is somewhat helpful. Yeah, once that spear boy's out of the way, it's okay. It's not so... Oh. Okay. Well, honestly, I'm in my light building armor at the moment, so I don't really want to do this without arrows. I just got my helmet on and my troll armor. It lets me run around the fastest, jump the highest, all that sort of stuff. And so that's my favorite building armor. And for anything except those 2-star foolings, anything except them, I'm okay. But those guys show up, man, oh man, those guys hit like tanks. It's just no good. The lazy man's arrow, the wooden arrow. That's what I'm after here. I do like better arrows, but I just shoot so many arrows I can never keep up with the demand for feathers and all the other stuff that goes along with proper arrowcraft. So yeah. All right, Shanty Motor. There we go. There's the one. I was going to build this little town by the sea, sort of a shanty sea town, but then I moved it a bit. Although the sea is actually still really nearby. So the sea is straight ahead, so that's actually kind of cool. Right down there. Actually, I'll show you really quick. And actually, got to stay out of that part of the Black Forest because there's a 1-star troll that lives over there. It's not that I'm scared of him. I just like him. I want him to stay there. He lives in this tiny little section of the Black Forest, so he's like the castle troll. So he's my buddy. He's gonna stay there. But yeah, so I've got this kind of cool little boat docking area. And so we're going to build a harbor here eventually. But here, like I say, exactly right here is the Black Forest biome. And just over on the other side there is the Black Forest biome. So yeah, everything is super duper close. And yeah, I think it's a cool spot. Don't wake up the troll. I don't know where he is. He wanders around a little bit, but I had to save him one time from a fueling attack. He was holding out pretty well, but trolls are not tougher than feelings. Yeah, we'll just leave that Mosquito alone since he's over there and we're over here. He should be alright. Alright, back to it. This is an extremely messy workspace. I just don't have the patience to put everything away right now, so I've just been throwing it on the ground. Alright. Alright, here we go. This is the exciting part. Ah, the digging. The endless digging. Reminds me of that song, Diggy Diggy Hole, by, I think it's Windrose or something. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole, diggy diggy hole, diggy diggy hole. Except I am not a dwarf, I am a Viking. And actually kind of am a Viking. My grandparents were from Denmark. So, I'm not actually a Viking, but you know, got a little bit of actual Viking ancestry going on. Maybe. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole, a diggy diggy hole, a diggy diggy hole. Yeah. So I'm really not sure how I'm going to actually build this castle up now. I really wanted to build a nice square castle. But since that's not going to happen, I'm going to have to think of another design. Not exactly sure, but one thing I do know is that once this castle is built, I am going to tame some wolves. I'm going to tame a whole troop of wolves to wander around the castle and, well, basically protect its walls and that sort of good stuff. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be easy, too, because there's like a frozen mountain right up there, so I can just lure down wolves, get a lot of wolves, have a lot of wolves, set up a bit of a wolf breeding pen, have a lot more wolves, just create like a lot of wolves. Yeah, so I was digging a bit of a hole here, digging out my castle and thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing with my life? Why the hell am I digging this hole? Digging this castle out? I don't actually even have any friends who play Valheim. Why am I doing this? So I thought, okay, you know what? I can't think of a single reason to go on. Let's live stream about it. Then at least we can, talk to ourselves, and it feels a little bit more fun. Let's see here. That is the sort of unfortunate thing about Valheim at the moment, is that aside from exploring the main plains, the main biomes, I should say, rain. You start to kind of run out of challenges. There's not really any monsters in the game that are threatening at this point, and I'm not even really wearing very good armor even. So the danger is no longer there for kind of more experienced players. The exploration is kind of no longer there. The building is still there. The building is fun, but you have to have something beyond the building. You have to have exploration, danger. I really think what this game needs is sort of a Diablo 2 style RNG loot system, and probably more monsters, and maybe some dungeons to explore. You need to have a more of a action element, I think, to really hammer in the home building in this game. It's really nice to have a cozy place to store all your stuff, to set up your trophies, to have all those things, but if you don't have the danger, if you don't have the challenge, then, well, it kind of doesn't feel like the same sort of, it doesn't have the same sort of meaning to build these things, right, without kind of a purpose for them, other than just building, which is fun. I do like the building, and I have never been one to enjoy building games. This is a kind of a first for me. I've always kind of like been annoyed by crafting systems, and this game is all about crafting, but I dig it. Now I actually really like it, and I'm kind of looking into other types of crafting games, and actually even thinking about adding some crafting to the game I've been working on. I actually started working on Unreal project there about a year ago. Actually, I put a bit of a team together. We started doing some development, and mostly I was doing design. I didn't really know development, but just in like the last month or so, I've been hardcore kind of teaching myself Unreal Engine design, and actually I'm getting a little ways ahead. I kind of have got a procedural world created with a couple little biomes. They're nowhere near perfected, but they're kind of cool and kind of set up. Got some characters set up, and a little bit of a combat system, and a little bit of a spell casting system, and inventory, and sort of some of the essentials that you need to kind of get a game playable, I guess. The ability to equip armor and weapons and unequip those things. There's a million little details that go into game development. I tell you what, like, you kind of, if you're not a developer, you kind of look at things and you think, okay, well, that seems fairly straightforward. But even just something like swinging a pickaxe has so many little calculations involved in it that you have, before you know it, you have a whole little page of code just to do one really simple thing, which you think should just be like, oh, swing pickaxe. But actually, no, it's like, well, of course, play animation, which is then attached to a character's model. And depending on if the character is moving or not, should it be moving, should it slow the movement state, etc., etc., calculations like stamina, and of course if there's stamina available, and then of course where is the pickaxe hitting, and do a bit of a ray trace to where the pickaxe actually makes contact. What does it make contact with? If it makes contact with this material, then do this, then do that. And it's just like the simplest little thing. There's so many nuances to it. So you can imagine some of the more complicated things, they just really have a lot and a lot. Where did I get that from? I don't know where I got that iron from. No, I don't. That's weird. Yeah, but it's cool. It's really fun to do game development. But it is a daunting amount of work, I tell you. I tell you, especially if you're kind of a soloist like me, And like I say, I did put together a bit of a team, and I have been working on some other projects, but it's very slow going. I'm pretty fast at actually doing development, coding, and stuff like that. I've been a coder for quite a long time, but it seems like everybody else is pretty slow. So there it is. So now the question is, man, what is the question? The question is, how much more do we dig? Where does the other tower go? How far back do we go? How far can we go? Okay, well, if that's the question, we'll get the answer to that by seeing how far we can go. Pretty sure this was it. Can't go any more down than that. I've actually been to a couple castles in the real world. I lived in Romania for a couple of years. I actually met a girl there on the internet back in the day, a long time ago, before internet dating was really a thing. But yeah, we hit it off and ended up moving out to Romania for a couple of years and saw a couple of castles, including a couple of Vlad Tepes's castle, who the story of Dracula was based upon. Interesting thing about castles is that they are smaller than you think they are. Like, and what I mean is the room sizes inside are actually smaller than you would think. You would kind of expect these kind of wide open spaces, but I don't know, maybe people were smaller back then, I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. And so the hallways and the ceilings were quite low, and the hallways are quite narrow. Yeah, and I think I've been to 3 castles, and they were all kind of to that form. There might be some, of course, more grander designs than that, but that is what I saw. So that's my story. I keep thinking this would be a really sweet game to have as sort of almost a PvP type game, where you and your team, you know, your crew, build your castle, build your defenses, etc. And then of course you're playing on a server with other Viking tribes, and there's sort of, you know, like if any of you have seen the show Vikings, probably most of you have, if you're into a Viking game, you know. Vikings were always, you know, warring with each other, at least according to Hollywood, or at least, you know, the quote-unquote History Channel. I'm actually pretty sure that is factually true. But it would be very, very cool to have, like I say, that would add an element, of, like a degree of gameplay, which actually makes all the other elements of gameplay more worthy, more worthwhile. Like, why do you gather? Why do you hunt? Why do you build? Why do you do all these things? Except to just have them and have them be done. And what do you do with them when they're done? What's their purpose? And that's sort of always why, you know, what I think about when I am playing a game, and also when I'm now designing games. I'm like, where's the fun? You know, their chores can be fun. You know, going out and hunting deer, gathering things like that, even digging a hole and spending hours and hours building a castle, which you could call a chore. This is kind of, as far as gameplay goes, this is fairly bottom of the barrel right here. You know, I'm just whacking things with my pickaxe. But this could be fun, and it is, you know, even kind of fun. But this could be a lot more fun if it had more meaning behind it. Like, why am I building this? You know, what's the purpose of having a castle? Does it provide a benefit? Is it like a, you know, a base of defense against attacking Viking clans? You know, and if the answer to that was yes, then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, let's actually build a castle. Now I know why. I really am into this castle building. I want to think about all the components to it. You know, how to make it safe and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's one of the things I think about. In terms of gameplay longevity, you know, the gameplay loops, right, are one thing. But you always kind of got to ask yourself, why? Where's the fun? Right? Is this gameplay loop the fun? No. Digging a hole for 10 hours straight is not the fun. Right? That's not the fun. It is kind of satisfying and rewarding to actually have a structure built. But again, what do you do with that structure once it's built? Where's the fun, right? And so the fun typically comes from things like competition or PvP or, fighting monsters or finding treasure, getting, those luck of the draw treasure surprises. Like Diablo 2 is really great at that because it basically creates a sort of endorphin cycle where you work, you grind at Diablo, and it's pretty fun to play. It's kind of soothing, and then you can suddenly find these great treasures. And when you find one, you get this dopamine hit, right? Which is why we play games. We play games to have fun. We play games to feel better, to feel good. And we feel good from dopamine hits. And so a gameplay loop like building is, it's kind of fun. Like I said, it's kind of rewarding to build stuff, but if there's no real purpose to it, no point to having these things, the fun is somewhat, I won't say lessened, but you start to question why you're doing it. And if the gamers question why they're doing a thing, then they're not really having fun doing a thing. And so, yeah, that's my take on it. I love getting addicted to games. It's my very favorite. If I can get addicted to a game, and like I say, it's that dopamine release and all that sort of good stuff that comes from gaming. It's a real, actual thing. Very similar to doing drugs. Probably pretty much the same, just the trigger for that neurochemical reward is different. But I'm totally a fan of getting addicted to a thing. Like, I'll happily forget about the entire world if a game is good enough for me to get addicted to it. Like, that's great. I love getting so immersed in something that I just stop caring about anything other than the thing I'm doing. Just, riding that riding that dopamine high, enjoying the experience. And the Valheim developers have really actually done created a great game here. They really have. It's a really great foundation. Oh, another one of those toughies. So many 2-star feelings right now. Don't want to get surprised by that guy. He one-shot me in this armor. Oh, that was kind of close. Yep. So a PvP element would be cool. Would very, very cool. PvP sort of raiding, base control, that sort of stuff. Or even just, it doesn't even have to be complicated. Players can make up their own reasons to quarrel with each other, right? They can make up their own reasons. I played on Darktide back in the days in Asheron's Call. It's one of the first MMOs for those of you who are too young to remember. Those of you who do remember and maybe played, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, players made up their own reasons to conflict with each other, even if the game is not specifically about it doesn't specifically have PvP mechanics or base capture mechanics or anything, all that sort of stuff built in. It doesn't matter, because it might be something else, some other gameplay mechanic, like a forest which has lots of resources, or a particular region which is sort of beneficial to be able to hunt at, right? Like that's what it was back in the day. Like when I used to play Asheron's Call, there were a few dungeons which were great leveling spots. So being in a clan that controlled one of those leveling spots was great, and clans would war over, or what were they called? Clans? No, they're called monarchies. They're called monarchies. Anyway, the monarchies would war over these spots and try to have a presence there. And to have a presence there, you had to have your guys there, right? You had to have, good fighters on your side, strong characters, and you had to actually have a presence, a monarchy with a strong enough presence to be able to be in control of an area. And yeah, so monarchies would conflict over these areas. It wasn't specifically a gameplay loop that was programmed in or anything like that. It was just a useful thing in the game, and it wasn't big enough. It wasn't big enough for more than one monarchy, especially when neither side ever trusted each other and didn't know who was going to attack first. So basically, the best thing to do is, if you saw an enemy, get the jump on him, or assume he's going to attack you and start defending yourself by attacking. Oh, I forgot to rest. I can't believe it. Okay, that's fine. I'm chitter-chattering too much. So yeah, give players a sandbox, right? Don't necessarily create any any actual elements that are kind of cheesy that, you know, but give them actual physics and actual mechanics and actual regions and things that, you know, would make sense to conflict over, to have it, you know, to be valuable, and players will find a way to create their own story. That's kind of my take on it. And that's kind of the best thing too. Players create their own story, right? You know, as a game developer, you provide the sandbox, you provide the loops, but then beyond that, you know, what do you do beyond the loops? What do you do beyond what the game has for you, right? Like where's the you know, if a game allows you to be creative in your gameplay, man, you can make a game last for a long, long time. And naturally too, not just by artificially making everything extremely grindy, slow. Like World of Warcraft's terrible, right? At that, like it's so slow and grindy to level up a character, and there's no real even value in leveling up your character, because you just level up to continue to level up, to get better gear, to level up, to get better gear, to level up, to get better gear, to level up. It's an endless cycle in World of Warcraft. Tell I'm an old school gamer here, right? My frame of references are things like Asheron's Call, Diablo 2, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft isn't even old school. But, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the infinite loop in World of Warcraft, right? And that's the problem with it. And there used to be kind of a point in World of Warcraft, right? Like I leveled up characters because in order to fight in the arena, which was cool, it was the challenge, it was the fun, it was the contest, right? It made sense to have good gear. There was a reason to have good gear, so you could have a better chance when you're fighting in the arena, right? So that's what I kind of mean about having reasons for players to do things beyond just like having a thing, right? Like having something fun. It's been playing Gods Unchained, right, a little bit as a card game. I never used to like card games, but I dig Gods Unchained, and it's fun to sit around thinking about what sorts of decks to make, what sort of cards, and you know, then to spend all this time researching cards and looking into them, and actually even buying some cards and stuff like that, right? Because they're collectible NFTs. But all of that is fun and meaningful. All of that sort of metagame is fun and meaningful. Just like I would sort of define building and crafting and hunting and gathering and mining and stuff, I'd call that all the sort of metagame, right? Is meaningful because there is then the reason for it, which is the challenge. When you go up against another player and you see who has the best deck, or see who has the best gear, and who has the better gear advantage in the fun part, right? What's the fun part? The fun part is when the endorphins start releasing, when the adrenaline kind of kicks in, and you actually have a bit of a challenge, right? Or something kind of beyond the gameplay loops. That's my take on it. The hell am I doing with my life? Why am I taking this massive hole? I know why. It's because I'm building a castle. Why am I building a castle? I don't know. Which is why I'm having this whole conversation. See, that's the kind of thing too, right? Like having a live stream or a YouTube channel, which is why I'm really trying to create a YouTube channel here, is because it makes gaming more fun. Like I've put together some tutorial videos about how to tame a wolf, right? How to wrangle a sea serpent and stuff like that, which I wouldn't have even bothered to do because I don't really need a wolf, right? And the sea serpent shield isn't actually as good as the silver shields, so I don't really want it. But I had this whole fun adventure of putting together these tutorial videos because outside of just the actual doing of the thing in the game, there was more of a reason for it, right? Creating a video and hopefully creating a YouTube channel out of it gave it like this extra meaning. And so that's what kind of makes it that much more fun, when you can find a way to assign a thing that's enjoyable extra meaning, extra value, right? Add that extra value to your grind. Oh, it's too dark. I can't see what I'm doing. Oops, that Odin? Let's go high five Odin. He's always so fast. That's fine. It would seem that Odin shines some miles upon, rather, my castle building efforts. Or he's like, what the hell is he doing with his life? Or in this case, afterlife. Oh, man. Yep. Yeah, one's got to question that sort of thing when one's been streaming for half an hour and has a total of 6 seconds of watch time. Yep. Yes. You know what, if I could find a better game to play, I would play it. And I don't mean better, I just mean a game that, well, I played the heck out of this one. I really played it a lot and went through all of the loops, and like I say, that's why I'm talking about this in sort of an end game sort of perspective, right? It's because I've done all the loops, kind of created a bunch of stuff, and I guess I just kind of keep creating bigger and bigger to try to challenge myself, but yeah, at a certain point it's just like, oh. Why the hell am I building a castle? But, yeah, honestly, it's hard to find games to play these days. And that might just be my perspective. I'm not sure. I may be getting older and less easy to entertain, like impress with games, possibly. But then again, maybe not, because there's a lot of really cookie-cutter games out there, and there's a lot of lack of creativity and originality. When I was a gamer, I mean, I'm 42 years old right now, so I started gaming kind of in gaming's infancy, right? But back then there was nothing pre-created, right? No asset store to buy half-made games or, you know, templates for games that had worked and stuff like that. And so basically developers were making their own thing. Right, they were just pioneers innovating, and they innovated and pioneered some really great games, despite the lack of amazing graphics, despite you know, having you know, very little actual technology to make their game, to actualize their games. Right, they still made really great games. It's kind of like, you know, movies in the 80s didn't have all the technology that is had today by, you know, movie-making industries or studios and all that, but movies somehow in the 80s were not cookie-cutter, they were not templated, they were not formulaic, and so there was originality, there was an interesting experience to be had instead of sort of the predictable thing, right? Hollywood is kind of a factory for provoking emotional reaction. They're not a factory for art, you know, they're not necessarily creating works of art, which is what a good story is, right? Or should be. But they're, you know, creating passable emotional experiences for humans to be passably entertained. And unfortunately, that is also true of gaming. There's a lot of really cookie cutter. Oh, what the hell? I'll just build all the boxes. There's lots of really cookie cutter game design out there. Man, I just can't stand most of it. I have a library that is so large you won't even believe how many games I've downloaded, tried for about 3 minutes, maybe 5. No, not even sometimes, and just recognized exactly what I'm getting immediately, because it's just so cookie cutter, right? And just basically turned them off and never played them again. And that is unfortunately the way of gaming these days, is that everything is, not everything, there are some rare gems. Valheim is a good example of a fantastic game. I played Bannerlord a lot. That's a fantastic game. Yeah, I've unfortunately overplayed these games a lot, so I kind of used up my, used them up, I guess you could say, because unfortunately you encounter the same sort of issue, and that being, after you've done what the game has for you, what do you do next, right? And typically that's where a game ends. Not always, because you can get games like Ultima Online, right? Or, you know, some of the old massively multiplayer games. And what do you do when the game ends? Well, the game doesn't end. You know, you keep building things. You know, you keep challenging yourself in different sorts of ways, right? Beyond what the game initially has in store for you. You can create your own sort of gameplay using the raw ingredients of the game. Yeah, I may not be explaining that too well, but oh well, no one's listening anyway, so. Yep. No, we're making decent progress, I'd say. What are we, 35 minutes into this now? I can tell from my live stream, and I've dug out a decent amount of this mountain. Yeah. I think that is as much as I can dig, although it would be nice to have a little bit of light because I can't see too well. I just can't understand why no one's tuned into this stream. You would think people would want to watch a guy endlessly pickaxe through rock in the dark. It seems like some of the most exciting possible gameplay that one could be exposed to. Hey, and then sometimes your pickaxe breaks and you have to swap it out. That's exciting. That was the most eventful thing that happened in the last 20 minutes. But yeah, I keep looking around for another game to capture my attention. Couldn't find one, so I started working on one myself. Turns out making a game yourself takes a long time. A really, really, really long time. Especially if you don't know how to make one. That takes even longer. It's kind of fun though. Actually, the next thing I'm going to be working on is a Black Forest. No, not Black Forest, but a sort of dark forest. We're in the Black Forest, but sort of a dark and spooky forest biome in the game I'm working on. Very kind of Sleepy Hollow, I'm thinking. Day 524. What's that, like 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes day and night cycle, give or take, I think. So I think I've been playing this game for, good lord, how long have I been playing this game for? 10,000 minutes? That's 10,000 minutes divided by 60. I don't know. It's a certain number. It's a certain amount of minutes. Or a certain amount of hours. Or other. You know what I'm really looking forward to, actually? And here's a game that just for some reason just... Oh, it's not actually for some reason. I know why it is. I've actually been thinking about doing this in Valheim too. But looking forward to Diablo Resurrected when that gets released. And the reason that that game still has so much long-lasting playability for me is because of hardcore mode. The reason that hardcore mode has long-lasting playability for me is because it never gets dull. At any moment as you're playing, if you let down your guard, if you don't play at your best, at any moment your character that you may have spent weeks or even months working on could just be gone. And I've had it happen. I've leveled up to, I think, to 93, 92 or 93, level 92 or 3 sorceress. That was the highest I ever got in hardcore Diablo 2. And then died. And then I think I got a little bit angry. And then, you know, weirdly enough, I was back at it in a few days after moping for a bit. I was back at it again, make another shot at it. I don't know why. Just because of the challenge, right? That's the challenge. If you got challenge, you got something. When you don't have challenge in a game, man. And that's actually, you know what? Valheim could do a lot for its current state of long-lasting playability by adding in challenge. Challenging monsters, right? Like right now, like I say, there's just no challenge. I did a video, I think, surviving naked in the plains. Initially, the plains were, you know, difficult. But then once you learn the way the monsters move and sort of their patterns and stuff, well, I did it naked. I survived for half an hour, and I actually could have probably done it for a lot longer, except I encountered one of those spear-throwing fuelings, a 2-star spear-throwing fueling, and if there's one thing that can get you in the biomes, it's those spear-throwing 2-star fuelings, especially if you're not wearing any armor. But other than that, that is the only dangerous... Well, actually that's not true. There are lots of dangerous things when you're playing naked. But the danger is not really all that threatening when you know what you're doing. And that's the thing. There needs to be, in this game, more difficult challenges. Not just difficult in the sense of finding the willpower to somehow chop through an entire mountainside, although that's clearly what it's come to for me. But, you know, difficult. And that's, yeah, like I say, I've been thinking about kind of doing maybe a hardcore run at Valheim, but honestly I'm really bad at installing mods, and I don't really trust myself to not cheat if I don't actually have hardcore enabled somehow mechanically. No, that's not true. If I died and I was pretending to be a hardcore even though it wasn't enabled, I would still not be able to enjoy the character in the same way, because I would know that this is not a hardcore character anymore, even though we would still be alive. I don't know, my brain's kind of weird that way. It's like the endorphins don't work anymore. They don't trigger anymore, right? Like the thrill is gone because I know I've already beansed it, I've already bulked it. Right? So, just fooling myself or trying to. Digging a hole. I'm actually making some good progress here on this hole. What are we doing? Let's take a look. Oh, come on, jump. Oh yeah, pretty good hole. Not a bad hole at all. That rock's gonna give a lot of rocks for my castle. Oh, there's my buddy, the 2-star, I think. Snipe him. Don't like that too much. Guess I should eat some food. Throw away my thing. Oh, there he is. Oh, I feel like that was almost a close shot. Oh well. Digging a hole. Digging a hole. Diggy diggy dig. Dig 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 dig. Digging a hole. Well, I think we'll break this pickaxe. Got a cup of tea. That might be it for this live stream. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have the will to go on much more. Unless I get a bit of company in this live stream, I think I'm done. For now, anyway. We'll do another one later, but done for now. I think I'll try to do some Bannerlord videos or something here. Play a little, maybe a little Gods Unchained. I don't know. That might be a fun one to live stream. But actually, I'm in the D-ranking process of Gods Unchained. For the weekend event, you want to start out at a lower rank so you can win more games more easily. It's kind of a silly mechanic right now, but... So I have to lose some games. That's the plan. Alright, I think that's it. Time for a cup of tea. Time for this Viking to go and get some rest. And yeah, well, hope you guys maybe enjoyed the stream in retrospect, in case you're watching this in the future. And that's it. Okay, cool, groovy. Alright. Adieu. Never diddy. Diddy, diddy, diddy. Okay. That's it. Okay, hasta luego. Or something.